Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're doing a critical analysis of the financial philosophy of Jason Koeh.
The Malaysian financial educator, right? Author of The Slave of Money.
Exactly. And our mission here isn't to find the next hot stock. It's really to do a professional, sort of neutral review of the cognitive models and the thinking frameworks he's promoting.
Right, for long-term wealth. We're looking at the blueprint, not the, day-to-day market noise.
The blueprint, I like that.
And, that blueprint is really shaped by his background. He has a bachelor in engineering, then an MBA.
So he's a systems thinker.
He's a systems thinker. He's not coming at this with just emotional stories. He's applying, analytical rigor to finance, to behavior.
Building actual frameworks.
Yes. And his core idea really is that for most people, the problem isn't making money. It's the mindset, the behavior you need to actually keep it and then, grow it over time.
So it's not the income, it's the leak in the bucket.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start with the foundation of his thinking, which is a pretty huge claim.
It is.
The quality of your decision will determine the quality of your life. That's a big place to start. It's about self-mastery before you even talk about assets.
Exactly. He sees financial life as this continuous feedback loop. You're going to make mistakes. That's a given. But the key step is the reflection afterwards.
Okay.
Because that reflection is what lets you turn those mistakes into, enduring principles so you don't keep making the same costly error again and again.
That makes sense. But how do you actually do that? He talks about a concept, cognitive reorganization. What does that even mean in practice?
It means you stop treating every financial event like it's a completely unique new disaster.
Right. Instead of panicking.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. You've got daily budgeting or a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic or having your first kid. The underlying mechanics, the cause and effect are often pretty predictable.
So you apply old principles to new situations.
Precisely. If you can reorganize your cognition to see those patterns, your whole mindset gets reconfigured. You stop reacting with panic to a market dip and start applying the principles you already prepared.
So it's a structured, almost engineering-like approach to financial stress.
Yeah.
You look back at something like the '97 crisis, which he mentions hit his own family hard, and you build a system from that experience.
It is a system, but he's very clear that getting there is really difficult. He says there are two huge psychological roadblocks.
Okay, what are...
The first is the self-barrier. It's just our deep psychological need to protect our ego, our self-identity.
So if someone challenges our investment strategy...
We get defensive. We'd rather protect our image of being smart than actually admit a strategy is failing and change it.
That feels very real. It's easier to double down on a bad idea than to admit you were wrong.
It is. And the second barrier is what he calls the blind spot barrier.
Blind spot barrier.
It's just the simple fact that no one person sees the whole picture. Some people are big picture thinkers, others see the tiny details, some are linear, some are lateral.
So you physically can't see all the risks on your own.
You can't. Which is why he says you have to surround yourself with people who disagree with you thoughtfully. They see the things you miss.
That's a fascinating way to frame it. So
Yeah.
Financial wisdom isn't just about discipline. It's about building a team to cover your blind spots.
Yeah.
It really grounds him in behavioral economics.
Absolutely. It's psychology first, then the math.
Okay, so if we clear those mental hurdles, how does he redefine the actual work of building wealth? He talks about challenging the conventional two-dimensional equation.
Right. The simple equation that, we're all taught in school.
Which is?
Money equals salary from a job. And he says that thinking is just. It's fundamentally limiting if your goal is real financial freedom.
So the new formula has to be something other than trading time for money.
It's about value. His formula is, if you want money, solve problems. And the bigger the problem, the more money you can make. If it's $1 billion problem, the solution can make you billions.
So the market pays based on perceived value and, what was the other part?
And, crucially, replaceability, not just effort.
He has a pretty stark example for this, right? The cleaner versus the accountant.
Yes, and he's not making a moral judgment, just a market observation. A cleaner works incredibly hard physically, but is paid less than an accountant. Why? Because the market perceives the accountant's problem solving as more valuable, and they are harder to replace.
Some might find that a bit harsh, though. Doesn't that ignore the social value of necessary work that just happens to be easily replaceable?
That's a fair point. His work doesn't really get into the ethics of it. It stays focused purely on the mechanics of wealth creation. His point is analytical. If you want to escape that time for money trap, you have to solve problems that are high value, low replaceability, And this is the key.
Scalable.
Scalable, that's the multiplier.
Give me the yoga teacher example.
A yoga teacher charging per hour is capped. There are only so many hours in a day. But if they create an online yoga course, that's a scalable solution. It works for them 24/7 all over the world.
The work is done once. The reward is continuous.
Exact work.
Which leads us to the title of his book, The Slave of Money. How can someone earning a high salary, solving big problems, still be a slave?
Because they get trapped in the rat race, they scale up their lifestyle with debt too early, they get the expensive car loan, the big mortgage, the travel on credit cards, before they have a real foundation of security.
So they're slaves to their monthly payments.
Yes, slaves to debt. They're constantly running just to keep up with the lifestyle they've built on credit instead of being masters of their own money in their own time.
And he says this is a big issue in the Asian context he writes for.
A very big issue. The data shows many people commit to these kinds of liabilities way too early in their careers, and it creates immense financial stress.
Okay, so true freedom is having a positive liquid net worth. Let's move to his actual framework for managing this. The money quotient, or MQ.
The MQ is his big systematic structure. He breaks wealth into 5 parts: creation, preservation, protection, accumulation, and distribution.
And these happen across 4 life stages.
4 stages, yeah. Positive personal cash flow, then committing liabilities, then positive liquid net worth, and finally, what he calls pre-retirement.
And you can move back and forth between those stages, right?
Yep.
It's not a straight line.
Exactly. A job loss, a divorce, anything can push you back a stage. Which is why he has this portfolio model you're supposed to use at all times, the SKFH portfolio.
SKFH. Okay, let's break that down. S and K are for security, your needs.
Correct. S is saving. That's for discipline. It covers your basic living expenses, short and long term. He suggests about 30% of your surplus income goes here.
And K?
K is keeping. He links this to original culture. It's about fixed assets for long-term stability, basically a roof over your head. He allocates 20% to this.
So keeping is interesting. It's not just an investment. It's funding a cultural need for stability, especially in Asia.
Precisely. Having that home base reduces long-term anxiety. Then you have F and H, which are for freedom, for your wants.
F is for farming, patience. What's in that bucket?
Farming is for your midterm, predictable needs. Things like education funds, healthcare, maybe capital for reinvesting. You need patience for these to grow. That's another 20%.
And then the last one, H for hunting. Skill. This sounds like the growth part.
It is. This is your higher risk, higher reward bucket. 30% allocation. This is for potentially upgrading your lifestyle, for hobbies, for charity. It requires real skill to manage.
So you have 2 30% buckets, one for absolute safety and saving, and one for high risk growth in hunting. They balance each other.
That's the idea. And he has a very specific rule for managing risk in that hunting bucket.
The half cup of water idea.
Yeah. You only invest an amount of money that, if you lost it all, wouldn't affect your basic lifestyle. That's your half cup. But the moment that investment doubles, the cup is full, you immediately pull out your original capital.
You take your initial stake off the table.
Completely off the table. You move it to preservation, or you hold it as dry powder for the next market crash. Now you're only playing with the house's money.
Which has to do wonders for your psychology. You're not emotionally attached to your original principle anymore.
It's all about managing that emotional volatility that wrecks most investors. This connects to another key idea he has. Focusing not on net worth, but on liquid net worth.
What's the difference? Why does it matter?
Your net worth includes things you can't sell easily, like your house. Liquid net worth is what you'd have if you turned everything into cash tomorrow.
Good.
So if you have a sudden 30,000 ringgit medical bill, the 30,000 equity in your car is useless. The 30,000 in cash or insurance is what actually gives you freedom in that moment.
Liquid assets give you options. They give you speed, which is freedom. This leads us to his final stage, the long-term view.
For him, it's all about time. He says time is the ultimate luxury. Financial freedom is just the ability to decide how you use your time.
And that's where his idea of pre-retirement comes in.
Yeah.
I like that term better than early retirement.
Me too. Early retirement sounds like you just stop. Pre-retirement is about designing a new lifestyle after you've hit your basic numbers. You're still creating, still contributing, but on your own terms.
And he applies compounding to more than just money, right?
Oh, absolutely. He says it applies to everything. Your skills, the 10,000-hour rule, your habits, your thoughts, positive or negative. It all compounds over time.
And the final stage, wealth distribution. Estate planning. He has a powerful story about this.
He does. It's about a chartered accountant who suddenly became a widow. And even with her financial background, she was so completely overwhelmed by the paperwork, wills, nominations, passwords, that she couldn't even properly grieve.
Wow. That really drives the point home. It's not just a legal task, it's an act of care.
It's the final act of protecting your family's time and emotional space. For him, the end goal isn't just passing on assets, it's bequeathing values, the discipline, the patience, the skill that built the wealth in the first place.
This has been a really insightful look into his work. As we wrap up, why do you think this approach is so relevant, particularly in the Malaysian and wider Asian context?
I think it's because of its relatability. He's not just giving generic advice. He uses local examples, like the '97 crisis or the burden of Malaysian car taxes. He grounds these big, sophisticated ideas in the everyday reality of the region.
So the principles are universal, but the application is very local.
Precisely. The SKFH model, for instance, with its focus on keeping a home for the family, that speaks directly to a deep cultural value in Asia. He's also positioning himself as a disciplined, long-term educator, not a get-rich-quick guy, which builds a lot of trust in a region that's seen its share of economic volatility.
So ultimately, it's a philosophy about taking control, about agency.
It really is. I think about his metaphor of the elephant tied to a small rope. The elephant is conditioned to believe it can't break free, even though it's immensely powerful.
And many people are like that with their finances.
Exactly. Trapped by past failures or limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
His whole message is that your past doesn't define your future capacity. The real measure of wisdom is mastering compounding, making sure your principles, your knowledge, and your actions all compound positively. That's how you become the master of your destiny instead of the slave of money.